to Cherie's weight loss journey. Whew, I had to get out of the house. The house was hot. The house was hot. Yeah. So anyway, it's like we want y'all to know we see you, we heard you, and you know, we want things to change. Right? We do. We want things to change. As, the economy, had been changing since the boomers, post World War II, okay? It has become apparent that the corruption is immense, right? And the indecency, the immorality, the extent that people have went to get rich or wealthy, right? I mean, when you see what the hell is going on in Monaco, right? Where you have to be a billionaire just to exist there, and they live tax-free on the planet. Okay, they do. But these people also, make investments, and they have, people, who will go to them and ask them to invest in their projects. Okay? And they do it similar to what, we see as common people, what P. Diddy had done, right? P. Diddy would have the freak out parties. Well, the very wealthy rich also had the freak out parties, although, we didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. And there's always going to be people behind the scenes, right? So I know a lot of times we think, okay, our people in government, we assume, well, they have power and they have more money than the average bear, right? But, right, they have to work, right? The billionaires, they really don't have to work. They just invest. So the rich who have to work, they go to the billionaires, tell them, hey, I got this plan, yay, and this is how they get this sponsorship. Okay. So when it comes to, like, I don't want to seem like racial, but it's kind of racial. When it comes to, like, the YT, their investments, is based off of, their market, right? A lot of times that ends up being something like real estate, okay? When it comes to black black people, it's more like sex and drugs. Okay? So both parties want to be, fashion icons also when it comes to making money, right? When it comes to making that money that allows someone to be such a brand that, people will pay $2,000, $6,000 for a pair of shoes, or $6,000 for a purse. Okay? But that's a certain class of people that can do that. And it even has a lot of people who can't afford that kind of purchase to desire to have that kind of purchase. Right? So when you see, the average worker, whether it's government and below, for them to have, a Vinci purse, chances are, they don't have like a Vinci money inside of that purse. Okay? But these are the gaudy people. These are the flashy, type of people that, promote, a spectacle of their wealth. Because there are people who are wealthy, but they're not gaudy. They're not out here, wearing thick chains around their neck, or, having to, have 5 different types of Rolex watches, and yeah. They don't need that. But some people, the gaudiness is stemmed from kind of showing off, right? Showing off to the degree that they want you to know that you don't have what they have. Okay? But we never would have expected our government to do this, because we elected them. They said they was going to represent us. They really didn't give us no promises of exactly what they was going to do. But they said, they'll try to, promote your cause, while in office. So here we are in 2025. And we have migrants were admitted into the United States, right? So they were admitted into the United States for a reason, right? Well, from what I could see, that reason was, they said they admitted agriculture. They wanted them to pick agriculture, right? And we know America's history of the Africans that they brought to this land to be slaves and, to do the agriculture work. Okay? And it was definitely, hard work. But there was a lot of things that was going on, behind the scenes, right? And, yeah, it's bad, to have to work, and not get paid enough money to sustain yourself. It's horrible. But it was compounded with the rapes, some led to a lot of illegitimate children, right? Because the rapes, they were not checked with medical, they didn't really, do abortions back then. It was not safe. And, so, the Africans ended up, having a lot of interracial children. Okay? So, when we see that during the Biden administration, there was all of these immigrants that was allowed into the country, my heart sank, because I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are going to go through exactly, what had happened to blacks when they were caught up without rights, without enough money to get out, without a way out, just period. There's just no way out. So these people, now, why did they specifically want undocumented and illegal workers? Well, because behind the scenes, there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of crime behind the scenes, right? That's a whole bunch of taxes that weren't paid. There's also if you're not going to pay taxes on the workers, you're not going to declare all of the money that you made from the farming. Okay? So there were food deals going on behind the scenes. And so America is the largest on the planet food provider. So this is a whole undocumented type of business that should be regulated, because a lot of the farmers are they're supplemented by the government, right, with the promise, to provide food for America. However, we're facing inflation rates, and a lot of people, are also facing not getting healthy foods. Okay. So then, because these people are undocumented, we also have, people with an underworld mentality that, oh, you're undocumented, I could literally get away with doing anything I want to you. So that created another market, right? It first started out as porn and ended up into being snuff porn, right? Because they're not documented. So a lot of those people, those undocumented people, ended up I would say if they were documented, they would have came up missing. But they're not documented, so they're not missing, right? And so it was huge. I mean, if they will allow 14 million to enter into the country, it's a huge business. Yeah, hold on.